Welcome to Healing in Progress. On today's episode of the Healing in Progress podcast, we have my good friend, mentor, I'm going to call you my mentor, sister friend, co-entrepreneur, just like a really good Reiki Master, really good person, Dawn Douglas, aka Divinity Goddess, here to sit with us to talk about, we're going to be talking about transitions. We're going to be talking about permission to pivot. We're going to talk about healing through all of the things, the titles, the motions of it all. And learn a little bit about Dawn's journey and how her journey has impacted my journey and how my journey has impacted her journey. And yeah, I just want to vibe. This is my good friend. I wanted to have her onto the podcast because she's full of a wealth of knowledge, and there's so much to give, and she pours so much into me that I would love for y'all to receive some of that pouring into as well. So thank you for being here, Dawn.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. I don't have a bio for you. I just know you. I could be like, she started off in the Air Force and now is a student, but there's so much in between what that looks like. Give us a little bit of a run through of the life of Dawn Douglas.
So originally from Louisville, Kentucky, I joined the Air Force at the age of 18. I turned 19 while I was in tech school. Did 20 years in the Air Force. I've been retired now for 11 years today.
Clap. Today?
Today.
Congratulations.
Yes, been retired for 11 years. And so after the military, I worked 2 civilian jobs. 3. I did have 3 civilian jobs before I became an entrepreneur. One was as a quality assurance evaluator for a pharmaceutical company, which was very eye-opening. And then my other 2 jobs, I was an employment specialist for veterans at the Goodwill and at Foundation for an Independent Tomorrow, which helped ex-felons transition back into the workforce.
Okay.
Then I became an entrepreneur. I started off with doing life insurance and mobile notary, which I still do.
She's my life insurance agent.
And in 2018, I discovered Reiki at Enchanted Forest.
Wow.
Right. That was the very first place I
had.
Yes, that was the very first place I had Reiki done. Anansa was a freshman at UNLV, and they had some kind of event on campus where they had a bunch of community resources out there, and Enchanted Forest had a booth. And they had a card for veterans where they were offering free Reiki services to veterans on Friday. And so they must have had some crystals or something else on the table, because at that time I was really starting to get into crystals and learning a little bit about herbs and things like that. So she brought me the card home, and I was like, I'll go try this out. That sounds interesting. Had never heard anything about Reiki, had never experienced it. And I went, and that very first Reiki session, I was like, I don't know what this is, but I need it in my life.
Wow.
And because it was amazing. Like, I know I went to sleep and was snoring in there in that Reiki session. And I just felt so much better coming out of there. And that was early fall of 2018. And then like 2 months later, I was at the VA for a back issue and just happened to see they had a pamphlet there talking about some additional services that they were offering veterans at the time. And Reiki certification was one of them. And I was like,
Through the VA?
Through the VA is how I got my initial certifications. They don't offer it anymore because this was all pre-pandemic.
It's long gone.
Yes. But I was able to get my level 1 and level 2 practitioner certifications through the VA before COVID shut everything down.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I started meeting more practitioners and more spiritual people on Facebook, and ended up connecting with a Reiki Master on Facebook who certified me as a Reiki Master in Sedona.
Okay.
That's where we did my attunement.
That was like 2021?
2020.
2020. Okay.
Yep. So that led me deeper into my healing journey and opened me up to learning more about crystals, learning more about herbs spiritually before I really started delving more into them for holistic healing purposes. So yeah, it's been a ride.
Yeah, it has. 20 years in the Air Force. What was it like when you got out? Who were you when you got out?
Oh, I was really trying to figure it out because, like I said, I joined at 18, basically just trying to get away from home. No, not really, but really. So my mom's youngest brother was also in the Air Force. He retired after 30 years as a E9 Chief Master Sergeant, and that's my favorite uncle. So I figure, if the Air Force is good enough for him, it's good enough for me. And that's honestly the reason why I joined the Air Force. I didn't want to go to college, even though I had been accepted to a couple of colleges that I had applied for. But I was like, I just wasn't feeling college at the time, which was honestly a really good decision for me because, again, I would have went to school for who knows what, and it wouldn't have been something that I was passionate about or even, something that carried me to where I am now in school. So I did my 20 years and it was an adventure. It had a lot of ups and downs, dealt with a lot of racism, a lot of sexism, met a lot of great people, had a lot of great experiences. I met Ananta's dad and we got married and Ananta came about. So, the journey is the journey. I was where I was supposed to be, doing what I was supposed to be doing, meeting who I was supposed to be meeting, and evolving in life. I started going to therapy before I retired, briefly, and then I carried that over after I retired because I was really angry with a lot of childhood trauma, and the military didn't make it better. Because there's a lot that you deal with, and I was a very angry. I can honestly say I was a very angry person while I was in the military, very angry. And I remember, I was so just angry, and I would lash out at people. And a lot of our coworkers would say to my then husband, dude, I don't know how you're married to her, because I was really angry and. My fuse, I still have I'm not going to say I still have a short fuse because I know how to manage it better now. But that fuse back then, oh, yeah, it was terrible.
Don't push it.
Man, listen, not even don't push it. Just don't.
Don't, period.
Just the end. Yeah. And, I always tell people, I'm like, man, I'm amazed I made it to 20. I made it with all my stripes, and I was able to retire and still get all my benefits.
That's huge.
Yes.
You grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. Did you have any type of exposure to therapy or anything?
None whatsoever. I grew up in a place where Black people wholeheartedly believe that's white people shit. We don't go to therapy, that's white people shit. And now I'm glad the narrative is shifting because it's so very important that Black people get therapy. But what's also important is having Black qualified, caring therapists.
It is.
You don't just need a Black therapist. You need qualified and caring. Because there's a lot of people in a lot of fields that are just in it because the pay is good.
It's work. It's a job.
Yep. It's a job and the pay is good. Not because you truly want to make a difference, but because the pay is good.
Right.
And that's not how you help people. So that the caring part is crucial. And I was very fortunate when I really needed therapy the most after I retired and all of my anxiety and panic attacks and PTSD really started kicking in, that I was able to find a good therapist within the VA and start working through a lot of that. It was a Black woman.
What?
Qualified and caring.
Okay. That makes a difference.
It made a huge difference because the initial therapist they put me with was an older white lady, and we didn't mesh. like at all. And there was no trying to understand me as a Black woman and my experiences as a Black woman. And that makes a difference.
Especially getting out of the military.
Yeah, that makes a difference. Yeah. And, you know, her things were, and she might be a good therapist for some people. I won't take that away from her, but she just wasn't the therapist for me. Mm-hmm. And finding people that are for you is hugely important in your healing. Yeah. In anything that you're trying to do, you got to mesh with the right people in order to be successful. And the other part of therapy is you actually have to put in the work. Yeah. You can't just go to therapy. You got to leave therapy with the tools and use the tools.
You got to be honest in therapy, too.
Oh, you do. And man, listen, when I started being honest in therapy, that's when the healing truly started. Yeah.
That's the slogan for the podcast. Yeah. It starts when you stop pretending you don't need it.
Man, listen. And they're like, I am of the mindset now, like, especially for people who are, you know, trying to date. One of the things you should be asking this person is, what are their views on therapy? Mm-hmm. And have they been to therapy? Because that's going to help you gauge where they are as a person. Because if there's somebody who doesn't believe in therapy, but you do, y'all not going to mesh. Right. And y'all need to just cut ties immediately instead of trying to invest time and effort into one another. And it's just not going to work. Because there are a lot of people out here that you can look at their behavior and know that they need therapy, but they'll tell you out their mouth they don't need therapy. Baby, I wish you the best.
You know, I'm not trying to, you know, throw Sharik out there, but when we got together, Sharik he did not see the importance. I wouldn't say he was anti-therapy. He just didn't see the value in therapy that I saw. But I could see all of his wounds, mm-hmm. and I was like, I am not qualified to help you through this, but this is something that you should do. I encourage you to work on these things because we will not work if you don't. Mm-hmm. And then he started going to therapy. It makes a difference, especially in relationships. We should all have someone who is qualified and caring to talk to about what it is that we're experiencing. It's not always the friends. It's not going to be the family. A lot of times you can't heal from the people that hurt you.
You cannot.
Yeah, it's important to find somebody unbiased who ain't just going to be yes to everything and tell you what you want to hear. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I asked about your background because you went to therapy in the military, even though you had no exposure to therapy in your upbringing. What made you take that
Because I was angry. And again, the way it started manifesting in my life, I was like, I need to kind of get this under control.
Okay.
And so I started going to therapy. And, you know, the military therapist typically, from what I saw, was a lot of older white people, mm-hmm. white males especially. And every once in a while, though, you can come across some of them that actually care and are good at their job, and they can help you as a starting point. Again, it's meshing with the people, mm-hmm. like being able to connect with them to get what you need out of that situation in a positive way. Yeah. Made a difference. So I started going before I retired, and then I continued on because just, you know, childhood trauma, OCD, irrational behaviors. And I was like, I really need to work on these things to be a better me. And it's taken all of 40 some odd years to be in a better place. And one thing I always try to tell people about healing is that when you start to really work on it, you got to give yourself grace and mercy through the process, because you might be 40 years old just now going to therapy and you're trying to heal 35 years worth of trauma. Like, give yourself some grace and mercy through this process. Like, it took you all of these years to get messed up. Right. Give yourself some time to undo all of this stuff. And then you compounded along the way. Like, it's like a snowball effect. You started off with childhood issues, and then that manifested in your relationship. So now you've got relationship trauma. Mm-hmm. So it's like, give yourself some grace and mercy through this. Like, this is not a quick process.
You're not by any means learn the lesson and be fixed.
That part.
Day. You will slip and fall and need to learn the lesson over and over again.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Give yourself grace.
And most people don't give themselves grace going through this process. When they start healing, it's uncomfortable, it's ugly. And that's the other part that people never talk about on healing journeys, is how uncomfortable, how ugly, how just depressing it can get. Like, because you start looking and examining your life like, why did I even allow myself to do this or to experience this? But again, you got to come back to that grace and mercy, because you didn't know. You weren't in a place to know. So now I have these conversations with Ananta because I want her to be better off in her 20s than I was in my 20s, because these things weren't talked about with me. Yeah.
We tend to go really hard on ourselves, and the judgment helps nothing.
That part.
It helps nothing. It's going to be easy to fall into old habits. You have to give yourself an opportunity to do that and learn what that trigger was that caused you to go into that in the first place. It's like addiction. There's going to be relapse, and there's going to be improvement, and then there might be relapse again, but a little bit longer time in between. It's the same process that you have to go through in order to grow through it. Commend you for knowing the areas that you've needed healing. How are you healing today?
I'm still giving myself that grace and mercy with old patterns of behavior that I see that arise. Like, okay, we gotta still work on this a little bit. Yeah. Okay, I'm not as as improved in this area as I thought I was. So I show myself a lot of grace and mercy, and I'm not nearly as hard on myself as I used to be. Mm-hmm. So I'm able to calm myself and talk myself positively through those behaviors and keep myself on track. Mm-hmm. So
what are some of the tools that you use for that?
Meditation, sound bowl healing, tuning forks, meditation music. Like, that's what I listen to about 85% of the time when I'm at home.
Okay.
When I'm doing homework and stuff, it's meditation music on the TV, on the YouTube channel. If I find one of those live streaming or those 17-hour, I'll put those on, and I'll sit down and just kind of relax with the dogs, or I'm doing my homework with it in the background. But just being grounded, just being more present in the moment.
I'm surprised you didn't say the gym.
Oh, listen, that is
one of the things that inspires me so much about you, is that you will faithfully you still on this military time. You will get up, whatever day it is, early as the sun, and be in the gym, no matter like how you're feeling or what you're feeling. You in there.
Yep. The gym is my happy place.
Yeah.
That is my happy place. And it's crazy because probably about 5 years, right before COVID or during COVID was when my hours at the gym kind of shifted a little bit, because initially I would be at the gym at 6:00 in the morning. So I was waking up at 4, be at the gym at 6 so I could, finish off the rest of my day. So now I'm at the gym by 8, mainly because of the dogs and having to get them out and walk them before it's unbearably hot outside to even have them out. So my time has shifted, but also my life has shifted, and I've structured everything so that, the gym is first thing in the morning, and very, very, like, unless I have an appointment, a VA appointment, because I don't just schedule any other appointments. Like, everything else has to be
in where you fit in. Yeah, at the VA.
Everything else has to be done after 1:00.
Yeah.
So unless I'm sick or out of town, I'm at the gym, and I'm not missing it. Like, now there are certain instances, you know what I mean, where I might have to be like, all right, I'll just have to push my gym time aside or whatever. But it's got to be something hugely important.
Yeah.
Outside of that, no, I'm not missing the gym for nothing.
Yeah.
For nobody. I'm not. Because that's my happy place.
There's always been an inspiration for me.
And listen, when I don't go for long periods of time, like when my appendix ruptured 2 years ago and I couldn't go, dude, I was at home like, I don't know what to do with myself right now, because I'm normally at the gym.
Restless.
And angry, like, I need to go touch some weights. Like, this is ludicrous. What do you mean I can't work out for 6 weeks because my appendix ruptured?
Stupid appendix.
That part. Like, how dare you?
I remember that being a tough time for you. That's so outside of your element.
Man, listen, I was over it. Like, I couldn't wait to get back in the gym. And even then, like, I had to start off with just cardio for a little bit until, they officially cleared me to be able to do weights and stuff again. But I was like, oh, this is stupid.
And I think you honestly might be, not to throw your age out there, but the only person that I have known in their later 40s, early 50s that has this type of routine, that's actually in the gym steadily, that has this type of routine. And I'm like, I'm trying to be like that. Like 20 years from now, I'm trying to be like that, because that's the type of consistency that I want to be on. I found healing in the gym too.
Absolutely. And for me, I don't let the fact that, I'm still fluffy in some areas because hormonal issues that I'm trying to really figure all of that out. And sleep, like my sleep habits, the military just totally screwed that up for me. Like deployments and being stationed overseas. So now my circadian rhythm is like, meh.
Mm-hmm. You're still recovering.
It's like, what is this?
Yeah, the 20 years was not easy.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
And people take, they don't think about all the things that we go through in the military. You know what I mean? But again, I would do it all over again.
Good.
I would honestly do it all over again. So now I'm trying to work on getting my circadian rhythm so that I'm getting restful sleep and not tossing and turning, all throughout the night. So that's been my biggest issue. And that's the biggest issue with my weight journey is my lack of sleep, my lack of restful sleep. So my body is never truly in recovery mode because I'm tossing and turning all night long. My mind is wandering all night long, and I'm just kind of sometimes just laying there. And then on the nights when I do actually get some sleep, I'm tired the next day. Like,
how is this working?
Like, this is so ludicrous.
From an herbalism perspective, let's say, because there are folks who are listening or watching that have experienced the same type of restlessness and are trying to get restful sleep. I know you're tackling this from an herbalist lens. How are you doing this?
So trying to see what herbal blends work for me. But one of the most important things, so because I am in school, like they have this thing called timely care. I don't know if you have that because you actually go to a physical campus, but because mine is online, some of the resources, like you could go to a mental health office on campus because you actually go to a campus. So for online school, we have this thing called timely care, and it's where people can get doctor's appointments. They can talk to therapists. They can talk to business coaches and things like that because we don't have an actual campus. But they have a lot of videos and stuff that you can go through on there. And I was watching some of the ones that they had on sleep. And, sleep since it has been an issue for me for so long, like I have talked to this with my therapist and things. But something I watched recently just kind of clicked a little bit more for me. And the video was talking about staying up until you cannot keep your eyes open.
Okay.
Because that's when you're actually really sleepy. You could be tired, but if you try to go lay down when you're just tired, you're going to be restless. You're going to be in the bed pretty much tossing and turning because you're not truly sleepy yet. You're just tired. So there's a difference between being tired and actually being sleepy. So staying up until I cannot keep my eyes open is starting to make a difference.
So how do you know when that reaches exhaustion? Because isn't there like tired, time to go to bed, I'm staying up past going to bed, I'm exhausted. How are you gauging that?
Because of my life, I'm not doing things where I would be completely exhausted.
Okay.
I cut all of that stuff out years ago because what I'm not about to do is be stressed out ever again because I'm overworking myself,
right,
because I'm putting too much on my plate. So for me, it is now I'm finally sleepy. It's not complete exhaustion because, again, I'm at home most of the day doing homework or seeing clients or whatever the case may be. So I'm not out doing things that are physically and mentally exhausting me. So for me, it's not exhaustion. If you're exhausted, that means you need a vacation. You need to take some literal time off to just be. But that right there, so there's a difference between the exhaustion and just sleepy. Tired, oh man, I'm tired. I can relax a little bit. And then when you are literally sitting there fighting, you know how babies be fighting. That's when it's time for you to go get in the bed.
So you wait to get to that point.
Yep.
What time is that?
It varies.
Okay.
It varies. So it hasn't been a set time yet. Like I start getting tired around 8:30 because I've been on this schedule since I've retired. But sleepy when my eyes literally can no longer stay open, that about 9:30, between 9:30 and like 10:30 is when my eyes are getting the heaviest. So if I get in bed before then, I'm restless and I just lay there and I'm ending up tossing and turning. So that's disrupting what actual sleep I could be getting versus if I stayed up until I'm like, ooh, my eye, like I catch myself dozing off like, oh, okay, yeah, let's go get in the bed now. So
How long have you been doing that?
it's been about three weeks now since I watched that video.
You see an improvement?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And then I'll, sometimes I'll take my Blue Lotus at night or put that in some wine and.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, you putting the Blue Lotus in the wine?
And
the tincture?
Yes. My Blue Lotus tincture.
Okay.
Yeah. Putting that in a nice little glass of wine.
I love it.
Yep. And listen, let me tell you, that's gonna take you off to dreamland.
Okay.
Very well.
And she sells Blue Lotus tinctures.
I sure
do. On the website. Yep. Go ahead and get you some of that if you need some rest.
Man, listen.
I'm happy to hear that though. That's something that I know a lot of veterans suffer with is restlessness. And getting to the point of being able to turn off. Yeah.
Yep. So the downside of the military and getting out is they don't really prepare us on how to be a civilian again. We go through this little class to transition us from being military to civilian, but it's okay. This is how you fill out a civilian application. This is how you fill out a civilian resume. It's not really, even when we come back from deployments, like they don't help us fully integrate back into home life and, teach us these things. They don't have a sleep clinic on let's get your circadian rhythm back adjusted now that you're, not 12 hours ahead anymore and you going to bed when everybody else here is awake type thing. They don't do that. So that's hard for us because we go through that stuff. And again, it destroys your circadian rhythm.
It does. That's important. The transition classes. That's something to think about. You ever told anybody that?
I mean, they have what they consider.
It's not, though.
It's
we
not.
know it's not,
yeah,
though.
It's not. And honestly, I don't think that they would implement that because of costs. Their goals have changed drastically. And so I just have to kind of talk about it in this aspect to where I can say, hey, veterans, like, let's talk about this. Let's work on this. And let me show you some herbs that you could potentially take. But again, it goes back to seeing what medications they're on and making sure that there's no contraindications. And because we don't want to have somebody have an adverse reaction to an herb because they're on some pharmaceutical meds. We want to do everything as safely as possible. So, but yeah, I put some Blue Lotus and some wine the other night, and I was like, oh, let me do this more often because this
amazing.
This is so awesome.
Good for you for giving yourself the permission to play around.
Man, listen, I am my own I am my own guinea pig. I try out a lot of stuff before I offer it to clients and even put it on my website. So like right now I'm working on a weight release tincture and I've had a couple of people try it and it's helping them. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm gonna keep working on it over the summer before I unleash it on the masses.
Okay.
Cause I want to make sure
coming soon.
Yeah. I want to make sure it's good to go.
Yeah. I love that. So you're now in this space where you're working for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you're a student. You just finished with your associates, or
So I have a diploma in herbal medicine. I finished that program. Now I'm getting my bachelor's in integrative health, specializing in herbal medicine.
and this is a change from. This is not life insurance and notary and what else? Everything, all the other things. This is different.
Yep.
This is like something that's kind of come into your life in the past couple of years.
Yep.
Right?
Thanks to Reiki.
Yeah.
Reiki, crystals, herbs, they all go hand in hand. And a lot of the herbs that people use for spiritual things can also be used for medicinal things. Mm-hmm. And learning all of that and putting it all together just made sense to me. Mm-hmm. It honestly clicked. And I was like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is why school didn't work for me before. Because I tried to get a bachelor's while I was on active duty. And I was going for business administration or business, whatever the bachelor's in business is. And I just couldn't and at the time I had just had a miscarriage. Mm-hmm. So my hormones, my mind, everything, it was just like not the right time. And I'm thankful that it wasn't the right time because like I am so unbelievably passionate about this. I get so excited with the stuff that I learn. Like now I'm taking the nutrition classes because I've taken all the herbal classes and I'm just so fascinated with all of this. And I'm like, man, I can't wait to just share this stuff with everybody. Like you gonna get this knowledge
You
from
nerd
me.
out about it.
I do.
It's your jam. It really is.
It is. It is.
That's why divine timing is so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you hadn't followed that, if you had gone to school and just got your BA back then, you probably wouldn't be here today.
I wouldn't.
On this path. You gave yourself time.
I am a big believer in divine timing and not rushing things. I am now, like, just the way life works out. I'm appreciative, and I've come to learn that the universe, my ancestors, the Most High, my spiritual guides have always been looking out for me, and I can look back and I can pinpoint instances where they just kept me from certain things and certain people, and I show grace and gratitude to them for that because they got me where I am right now.
Yeah. You change directions essentially at this part of your life. This is like the midlife. At your midlife, you gave yourself permission to switch gears, to go back to school when you were nearing 50. What was that decision like? How did you get there?
So oddly enough, one of my retired friends was telling me about some of the programs that VA has for veterans. And I was like, I had looked into it before, probably about 5 years ago, and didn't follow through with it. Again, divine timing. Was not the right time. And I was just like, that's why I started with the diploma program first and not full-blown bachelor's. Because I was like, man, I haven't been to school since 2009. Let me take this kind of slow because
It's changed a bit.
it has. And so I started off with the diploma program and I was successful at it. And I'm like, this is something that I know is beneficial to everybody that I come in contact with. So I definitely want to learn everything that I can about herbs and how to utilize them properly and how to help people with these herbs, not just on the spiritual side, but on the health side. And I'm like, yeah, let me go on and go back to school. Once I finished the diploma program, I was like, I can do the bachelor's because I still had time left in this VA program anyway. I was like, let me go on ahead and get my bachelor's. And so now I'm here in my second semester working on my bachelor's, taking nutrition classes, and I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Next is the master's. You gonna?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And after that, the PhD.
I don't know about all that now.
Okay. We'll see. We'll check back.
Yeah.
We'll check back.
Yeah.
Where are you at now on your path? Where do you think you're going to go after this?
My business is Soulful Healing Services is just going to expand. That's it. because I already have all of the health services, the herbal remedies, all of that stuff is on the website now. So I'm just going to continue down this path and try to touch as many lives that are looking for help on their journeys as possible. Mm-hmm. But I'm still going to do the life insurance, still going to do the mobile notary, because these are still things that people are always going to need. So, and I look at it this way, like everything that I'm doing is stuff that people are always going to need. So why would I not keep my insurance license? Why would I not keep renewing my notary license? People are always going to need things notarized. People always need life insurance and will always need life insurance. So I'm going to keep these licenses as well. And I'm going to be able to help people soulfully and purposefully in their lives with the things that they need that are essential.
Mm-hmm. I think before meeting you, I didn't really have, I had a life insurance policy before meeting you, but I did that because it felt like I was working in corporate at the time, and it felt like that was what we needed to have, but I didn't really understand it. And then I met you, and first of all, you look like me. You were making it make sense. You were explaining the importance of it. And now I'm like, I could never not have a life insurance policy, especially one that I can use while I'm alive. So can you talk a little bit about how you got into life insurance and why? Because I do think that passion of yours is really important, especially within our community, to educate us on.
So a friend of mine that I was in the Air Force with, when I retired, she reached out to me because she was with another company. And I was like you, like, okay, I know I had life insurance while I was in the military. Of course, we have to have it. And then when I retired, like the jobs that I had, they have you sign up for it, but nobody really like explained it. So she started talking to me about it, started talking to me about the importance of it. And I was like, you know what? That makes sense. So I went ahead and got my license through her company. And this was at the time when I was working at one of my civilian jobs. And I ended up meeting some people on Facebook who were independent brokers and not necessarily attached to a specific company. And their contract was better. And I had just gotten fired from my civilian job. So I was like, 35%, 70. You know what? Let me go on and just sign up with this 70%, see what it's talking about. And listen, you talk about divine timing. So I signed up with them. The same week I signed up with them, I ended up meeting a family to do a notary, started talking to them about life insurance, and wrote 10 policies on that family.
Oh, my goodness.
Just from going over there to do a notary.
Yeah.
And I was like, this just makes sense. So the more I started learning about life insurance, how it can be utilized while you're alive, the importance of it, and just how many people are walking around here without it, I was like, oh yeah, this is something I will always see myself doing because this is too important for us not to have. And it's one of the ways that the wealthy have been leveraging wealth forever. And oddly enough, we were the first things that some of these wealthy people were getting life insurance on because we were their property. So they were getting policy. Yes.
Huh.
They were getting policies on us so that when their slaves died, they were getting paid out on that income they were no longer getting.
That is sick.
So, but you know, now everybody has the opportunity to get life insurance, and it's a matter of educating people, because a lot of Black people have a very negative view of life insurance for a lot of valid reasons, because back, you know, in the early 50s and 60s and 70s, it was mainly white insurance brokers that would come into Black neighborhoods and get families to sign up for life insurance, and they weren't properly explaining the policies that they were getting. They were selling decreasing policies to these people so that as they got older, their coverage amount was shrinking. And none of this stuff was properly explained to these families. Yes. You can still find some companies that offer decreasing term policies, but not very many. But yes, so you start off with this big amount, and as you get older, your coverage amount decreases, your payments, of course, decrease.
Nope.
Yeah, that part. Or they were being sold these whole life policies, and again, things weren't properly explained. And so the Black community was feeling very ripped off and just, again, very not taken care of when it came to life insurance. So now it takes people who look like me, who care about making sure that we're, one, educated on the importance of having it, two, educated on the cost of it, and three, educated on how we can use those permanent policies while we're still alive. But for me, the most important part is to just make sure that everybody has some life insurance, because I'm not in it for the money. The money will come regardless. No matter what I do, the money is always going to come. I want to make sure people who look like me have coverage in place, because far too many of us don't. And when somebody passes away, that's a hard thing to have to deal with. You're already dealing with the loss of life, a loss of a loved one. But to add on top of that, now we got to scramble to try to figure out how we're going to put this person in the ground.
Yep.
That's stressful. That's
And it tears
devastating.
families apart.
And it does.
Yeah.
So when I tell you life insurance is as inexpensive as you want it to be, or as expensive as you want it to be. It honestly just depends on, where you are in your budget.
Yeah.
And there are policies small enough to just make sure that you have enough to pay for a funeral. And if that's all you have, that's great, because no family is ever going to be like, man, they just had a $25,000 policy. What? That just put them in the ground.
Yeah. It covered something.
Yes.
Now you don't have to worry about it.
Nobody has to come out of their pocket. And let me tell you, I've talked to, I know people out here who own funeral homes and things like that. And in talking to them, there are sometimes people's bodies that are in the morgue for months waiting for families to get funds together for these funerals. Months.
That's
and
terrible.
I'm talking 4, 5, 6 months that this person is in the morgue because the family is trying to get money together. Life insurance is extremely inexpensive.
Yeah. I remember in 2021 when my cousin passed away that she had apparently just gotten a policy maybe a couple months prior to her passing. And so it wasn't aged enough to cover her death. And so because of that, the family then had to raise funds to cover all of it. You don't realize how divided you are as a family until you need somebody to donate something to someone that they'll never give back. Like you really see people when it comes down to like grief and loss. And that was one of the hardest things I think for my family to experience at this point in our life. And this is not like immediate family. These are like distant relatives, but still just trying to come together with everybody's like limited resources, I could say, was really hard. And so my cousin ended up cremated because they couldn't afford to bury her.
Yep. And that's the other thing I need Black people to really grasp a hold of. Everybody doesn't need a funeral. Like, if y'all know there are no funds available, cremation is max for just a regular cremation, $2,500.
We can get into the beliefs as to why people feel like they're not supposed to be cremated.
But
and all of that.
if y'all don't have the funds,
Right.
you
gotta
gotta
be
let
real.
you gotta let the beliefs go. Let's worry about getting this body out of the morgue, and at least if you cremate them, you can keep a piece of them with you.
Yeah.
So, but yes, ma'am, life insurance, hugely, hugely important. And yes, everybody should have some. And let me tell you, there are parents out here who have children with disabilities that their children will never be able to get life insurance because of their disabilities. There are
The
parents.
companies don't cover it.
No, because of how severe some of these disabilities are, which is the same thing that goes for adults. So I try to tell people to get life insurance on these newborns as quickly as possible, because once they're a month old, or you have their social security number, you can get life insurance on them, and you should. At the very least, a children's whole life policy, because that's something that if, God forbid, anything happens to them, they get diagnosed with something severe, they will at least have that policy for the rest of their lives. There are parents out here who have lost their children and didn't have life insurance. Now think about that. It's hard enough trying to bury an adult that doesn't have life insurance, and you are already going through those emotions. But to have to bury your child and y'all don't have life insurance on that child, that is immensely devastating. So I cannot stress this enough that everybody needs life insurance.
Yeah.
And we have to get out of the mindset of, oh, that's wishing death on somebody. Baby,
That
we all
part.
gonna die anyway. Like,
Yeah.
we literally are all going to die. Nobody is immortal. So please get some life insurance.
That's been one of the biggest myths that I've heard. I mean, anytime we mention life insurance, and you heard me mention it to people, and they were like, I don't want to talk about that. And it's not that you're wishing death on anyone to be prepared. I always say, be prepared. Just expect the unexpected. Never let them catch you slipping. Stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. Whatever you need to hear that will resonate.
And let me tell you what's crazy about that is people will think twice. Like, most of the people that you say that to that are like, I don't want to talk about that, wouldn't think twice about driving their car without some car insurance. You won't drive your car without car insurance, but you'll walk around with the most important thing ever unprotected, yourself.
But that's because we're told it's illegal to not have car insurance. They give us the option to have life insurance.
And
we opt
you know
against
why that
ourselves.
is?
Why is that, Dawn? Educate us.
The reason why life insurance isn't mandatory is because it literally would change families' financial futures. If everybody had life insurance, if they made it mandatory, there would be a lot less people dependent upon the government for stuff, because you would be getting these big checks from somebody passing away, and families' financial structures, families would be lifted up out of poverty. It's a game changer. It's the most underutilized resource in the Black community. Most overlooked, most underused.
We see it as a liability. It's just another bill.
It is the only bill that will give your family something back when you pass. Your phone bill ain't going to refund your family no money. They're not going to send them a check for nothing. The cable, the internet, your car insurance, everything else is and life insurance is actually an asset. Sometimes, like, depending on how much life insurance you have, it can be used as leverage.
I claim mine as an asset.
It is an actual asset. So again, it's the education piece.
Yep. And I didn't have that before. That's one of the things that I thank you for, is the education piece. Because of it, I'm able to tell everyone about it, get my folks signed up for it, make sure that we know what we're needing to do. Just in case, it doesn't matter how young you are, because anything can happen at any time. And so it's just a peace of mind assurance that I don't want to be a burden or cause any type of pain to anyone beyond the grief that's already going to be there if I'm not here.
Correct.
I already want things to be in place, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you can also do prepaid funeral services. A lot of funeral homes will allow you to pay for a prepaid funeral or a prepaid cremation. If you don't want to get life insurance, you could at least do that, so that, again, your homegoing expenses are taken care of. So it's the education piece. It's the having these uncomfortable conversations. And if you get it out of the way, like, you never have to worry about it again unless you get married or have a child, or, you know what I mean? It's like something life altering happens and, okay, now I got to make this adjustment. But once you put these things in place, you're good. And I've seen people, unfortunately, cancel their life insurance policy and then pass away.
Yeah. That timing. I don't know what to say about that. That's unfortunate.
That's
really unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. Seen it happen, and I'm just like,
you never know when your time comes. It's just better to stay protected in all ways.
yeah.
Yeah. So life insurance, notary, school, military, all of these things have been a part of your journey that get you Reiki to get you to where you are today. And I've seen you grow so much. You talk about how you used to blow up at the drop of a dime. I've never seen it. Well, I've heard. So I've never been in the presence of that. So kudos to you for being able to regulate all that. I just figure you a little spicy because you're Aries.
And I'll own that, definitely. But yes, I was very angry in the military. And even like a lot of my friends that I have from the military, when I talk to them now, like, they're like,
who is this?
Yes. Like, wow. And I always talk about how I got here. I talk about Reiki. I talk about therapy. I talk about meditation. I talk about going out in nature, because this is how you help somebody else. They may not know how to get started for themselves, but in talking about it, you might spark something within them that's like, I can do that. I should do that. So I'm very vocal about it, and I'm an advocate for therapy, a huge advocate, because I'm proof that it works. Like, I know it works because I've done it. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can't tell somebody how to drive a car if you've never driven a car.
Right. So
I know therapy works because I've been through therapy. I did the work to get me here. So yeah, I tell man, go to therapy. Go to therapy. And like I said, for the people that are like, I don't need therapy, you stay on over there then. Stay over there.
Maybe unpack why you think you don't need that. Like, maybe just sit with that for a little bit. And
they don't even do that.
Explore why you think you don't need it.
They don't even do that, because in their minds, there's literally nothing wrong with them that they need therapy about, even though you can look at their history and it shows clearly that they could benefit from some therapy. And you're just like, okay, well, I hope that works out for you.
Yeah.
I hope it works out for you, sugar.
Yeah. Having gone through like this, the medical lens, through all the things that you've had to kind of work on in the past and present that you've kind of shared, how do you see herbalism tying into, or do you see herbalism as helpful in conjunction with allopathic medicine?
Yep.
And how do you infuse the two?
So let me tell you, I remember while I was on active duty, I would see retirees coming into the base hospital, and I would see them leaving with the big grocery bags full of prescription meds. And I was like, bro, that is not going to be me when I retire. So I initially started looking into herbs upon my retirement, not to the extent to where I am now. But I was like, herbs can help. And that's how I found Herbally Grounded. One of my friends who was retired out here was like, you should go check out this store. And that's where I bought my first book, the How to Herb book. And I just started reading up on it. And then again, I told you I worked at a pharmaceutical company. So I got to see like some of the documentation because I had to quality assurance check it. And I'm like, herbs are at the base of these medicines. So it just makes sense to incorporate herbs into my daily life. And that's what really like started opening my eyes. Like, these people know herbs work. They just put their fillers on top of it and repackage it and like, here, take this, prescribe this med. And so now in going to school, I can see how, yes, there is a need for allopathic medicines. Yes, there is a need for holistic medicines. And herbs are not something you take reactively. You should be taking them proactively, because there are some things that are just way too acute that you're going to need those pharmaceutical meds for. And herbs take time to work. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people give up on herbs, is because you got to take them for at least 90 days in order for you to really start seeing the benefits of them. And after about 2 weeks, You know, those pharmaceuticals mask a lot of things, and you think you're getting better, but a lot of stuff is being masked. So you're like, oh, these herbs don't work. Like this stuff over here got me feeling better in 2 weeks. I don't know about
We
all
live
that.
in an instant gratification society.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And so now with me going to school, learning all of this stuff, now I can talk to people about, hey, you're going to need to take this for some time, especially if you're eating a standard American diet, you know, sad. Standard American diet. It's sad.
It is sad.
But you got all of those pollutants in your body, and you expect these herbs to just cut through them. Just like, it don't work like that.
It takes time. It's like healing.
Yes.
It's you spent 35 years
and you're sending herbs into a toxic environment,
Right.
expecting it to be victorious immediately. No. Like, a lot of people don't detox. And honestly, if you ate a lot more whole foods, you wouldn't need to detox because you wouldn't have all the processed chemicals and whatnot in your system to begin with. But most people eat a lot of processed stuff, so they should be detoxing quarterly.
4 times a year.
Yes.
Okay.
Because,
I'm not doing that.
But you don't. You also don't eat a lot of processed foods. Most people eat a ton of processed foods on a everyday basis because of, you know, their work schedules or their home life or whatever the case, or they just don't know how to cook or they don't want to cook. Whatever the case may be. So in that instance, yes, they should be detoxing 4 times a year because you're constantly putting that crap in your body. You're constantly inflamed. You're constantly sleepy. You're constantly restless. Like, you're not getting all the vitamins and nutrients and minerals. It's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot. So yeah, you should be detoxing at least 4 times a year if you eat a sad diet.
Is that something you support people with?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's get this detox going. And I'm so excited because I'm going to be going to Herbally Grounded sometime this week to put together a detox capsule that I'm going to pair with my weight release capsule. So before you start taking the weight release tincture,
So important.
you detox prior to that, clean out your system, and then let's start flushing the weight out. Let's start getting your organs back working properly how they need to be working. Let's boost that metabolism. Let's get that liver functioning. Let's control those sugar cravings and things like that. So, yeah.
It's the sugar.
It is.
For me, it is the sugar. I definitely
I have a tincture for that.
I know you do. I know you do. I honestly, I just have to cut out sugar completely. I've learned in my journey that I am kind of a cold turkey girly. Like, I have to just stop. I can't even have like a little bit here and there. Otherwise, I don't control. It's just sugar too. It's so interesting.
And honestly, you probably need to do a certain detox.
I got some parasites.
Yep.
Oh Lord, give it to me.
Yes.
I'll take it. I'll take it. No, because I was when we were in Colombia recently, and I was like, I'm eating a lot of sugar right now. Do I have is there a tapeworm in here craving processed sugar right now? But I came back and I cut it out completely. Like, I haven't had any sugar. I think it's been a week, and you know, we're starting small. Yeah. But I realized that I have to completely cut certain things out because I don't have the discipline around them required. And, you know, something that Carmen shared with me one time, she was like, if you're craving sugar, are you trying to make up for the sweetness in life? Are you not allowing yourself to experience the sweetness in life? So you're finding it in your foods. And I said, I lost my breath. I clutched my pearls. I'm like, how dare you?
Read me like this.
Read me like this. But it's true. Foods are usually tied to our emotions. Our emotions usually determine our physical actions, and then those spiritual imbalances cause physical imbalance in the body too. And then we end up with diabetes and high blood pressure and all the things that run in my family. Yep. And it's like, okay, at a certain point I had to sit down and say, okay, these are the problems. These are my pain points, my triggers. How can we work around this? And so now I've started looking for the sweetness in life. I'm not even craving sugar. I'm finding I'm finding ways to add sweetness in my life. And a lot of it was me neglecting the things that I enjoyed because I was constantly in burnout and go, go, go mode, that I was like, I just need a little treat. I've been working so hard. Let me go ahead and go over to Yogurtland and treat myself to something nice. But then I would go to Yogurtland like 2 days in a row. And then I'm like, oh, am I trying to go to Yogurtland again? Like, it's, okay, something that we're not facing here. And I started to recognize within my own self that this is a problem, that this is something that needs to be worked on. And so I love that you've taken healing into your own hands for yourself too. And that's what interests me in herbalism, is the ability to be able to heal with herbs, with the things that have been provided by the earth already. We don't have to go out seeking for it or relying on other people to find these means. We have everything that we need right here.
Nature teaches us everything. You can watch animals in nature. Like, they know what to do.
They figure it out.
They know exactly what to do. A wounded animal in the woods will go find whatever it needs and put it on itself to heal. Mm-hmm. I was just reading about crows. Like, when they get sick, they will go land on an anthill and let the ants cover them, and the ants eat away at whatever fungus or whatever is going on with them and release toxins within the crows to help heal them.
What?
And then they shake them off and fly away.
What?
It's nature.
Yep. Science.
Man.
Love that.
Right. So again, this stuff is like, this is so fascinating. Mm-hmm. I was looking at, it was a story about an orange orangutan that had gotten into a fight and gotten a chunk of flesh removed from under his eye. And again, in the wild, he went, got a plant, chewed it up, and put it on his eye, and in about 3 weeks, it was healed. Nature. They know what to do. Mm-hmm. Humans know what to do too, but a certain subsect of humans have hidden all the vital knowledge so that we
there's a lot of distraction too, especially, knowing that the subsect of humans that have hidden all the answers from us, but knowing that still we choose not to go looking for the answers because we are distracted or we become reliant on other means for our own healing.
Yep.
I value being able to take healing into my own hands.
A lot of people do not believe that unless you hold a title, mm-hmm. you don't know what you're talking about. You don't have it within you to heal yourself, or you can't possess those powers. That's a God-given gift. Well, just because I don't have a title.
Right.
And that's one of the main reasons, aside from learning all the intricacies about herbs and nutrition and things like that, that's one of the other reasons why I'm in school, is because a lot of people want to see credentials. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They're credential driven. So, okay, the VA is paying for me to go to school. I'm going to go get these credentials so I can, here's my credentials. Now, come on, let's work on this plan together.
Yeah.
But it's also helping me in the process too. Work on some things or heal myself in some ways that I hadn't even thought about. It's given me a new perspective with food and just, man, listen, it's so awesome. It's so awesome. And I love it because, I opted to get paper books from the school instead of the ebooks. The digital book. Mm-hmm. 'Cause I got to touch it. I need to be able to touch it and go back to it. And plus, I don't want to have to download all of that onto my computer. But I get to keep these resources forever. If my computer breaks, my stuff gone. But I got these books now as resources forever. All my herb books, all my nutrition books, all my physiology books, all my healthcare terminology books. It's so awesome because now I just I go, you tell me something, I'm like, hold on, let me go. I grab all of these books and I just start flipping it. And I'm like, man, it's so much information and I just love it. The only thing I wish, listen, I just wish I had a photographic memory. That's it. Because I'm like, it's a lot of stuff in here, but I'll sit there and go through and highlight it and find it and go from there.
Yeah.
So I love it though. I do. I love where I'm at in life. I'm grateful for where I am in life.
I love where you are in life too. It's been an honor to be able to witness you grow and evolve as you have over the years. We met in 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, we met in 2019.
Yep.
And I think at that time you were just getting on into your Reiki journey. I didn't even
Mm-hmm.
realize that until today that was kind of like your beginning.
Yep.
That
I
was your
ended up
beginning
meeting
point.
Sade. I was at an event, a networking event, and she was there, and I was there in a life insurance capacity. And like, it wasn't a lot of Black women in the room. So of course her and I being like some of and the youngest Black women at that in the room. So of course we kind of just, were drawn to each other and started talking, and I was talking about life insurance, and then somehow Reiki came up, and then she mentioned she had Nourish and she was looking for a Reiki practitioner, and I was like, well look at that. I just happen to be one. And bam.
What
and
you need finds you.
It does. Mm-hmm. It absolutely does. A divine timing. You're never not where you're supposed to be, regardless of what happens. And it could, and I know that some people will be like, well, you have people that got hit, something tragic happened to them. Unfortunately, it was supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. We don't like to look at things like that. And my nephew passing away was what opened my eyes to view death differently. Even though it was extremely painful, his passing, it changed my perspective and outlook on the reality surrounding death. And again, sometimes it's a very traumatic and hurtful way that people leave us, but it was supposed to happen. Regardless of whether we want to accept that or not, if they were supposed to still be here, they'd be here. Mm-hmm. So I take it as, if you are still here, do something important and impactful and purposeful with the time that you're still here. I don't care what that looks like. Do something purposeful, impactful, and meaningful with the time that you're still here. So I try to do that intentionally as often as I can. So.
And you do.
Yeah.
You do. Your presence has an impact, for sure. Thank you for being on.
I am so honored that you asked me to be on.
And coming and sitting with me, just putting your whole life out there for the world. I appreciate it. And thank you for your friendship and guidance. And I know that if I have questions just in life, you're one of the people that I can go to and ask. And you're going to always tell me the truth, because you ain't one to lie. That's just not the MO. That's just not the MO. And I appreciate that. It's a beautiful journey that I've witnessed you on, but you have also been there for me through all of these transitions that I have been on as well. So thank you for allowing me to lean on you when I've needed to.
Of course.
How can the people find you? What are you offering? What can you do for them? Tell everyone.
All right. So I offer life insurance services for everyone in all 50 states. I offer mobile notary for everyone who is located in Clark County, Nevada. And of course, I offer my spiritual, holistic, and gemstone jewelry. Everything is available through Facebook and Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at Generational Wealth Solutions LLC for life insurance, RBG Mobile Notary for mobile notary services, Soulful Healing Services _23 for the spiritual, herbal, and holistic services, and Soulful Creations 23 for the skincare and jewelry products. I think that about covered it. I don't think I missed it. Got no more? I might. I don't know. I'll be forgetting. So whatever comes out, those are the ones that you need to look up.
Okay. Okay, and you're taking clients?
Of course, always taking clients. Always taking clients for life insurance, for healing services, for holistic health care, whatever the case may be. I am always taking clients unless I'm on vacation.
All right. I think one of the biggest takeaways that I want people to have from this episode is that we are constantly, as individuals, in evolution if we give ourselves permission to be.
And we should. Most people don't give themselves permission to evolve. You don't have to be stuck. If you don't like where you are, change it.
That's something that you've done.
Yep.
Time and time again from
Yep.
what you shared. Yep. So give yourself permission to change, give yourself permission to evolve and grow, and watch how beautifully your life develops. Until next time, remember, healing starts when you stop pretending that you don't need it. This is Healing in Progress.